June is Pride Month. It's a time of celebration for LGBTQ plus communities, but it also commemorates the beginning of efforts to fight for recognition and justice, efforts that continue today. While progress is being made, there are concerns. New legislation and practices, which some see as discriminatory, heightened rhetoric about the gay community, and instances of violence are all causing concern. Kevin, thanks so much for being with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course, of course. 25 years ago, what did it mean to Milwaukee's LGBTQ plus community when the community center opened its doors?
So 25 years ago, it meant to have a place where people can come together to further develop our community here in the greater Milwaukee. It also meant having educational, health programming, and resources that were available for our community that just wouldn't be available in other areas. And it also brought us into a place where we can come to one place and really work on social issues, things that were happening during that time back in the 90s, where we're becoming just known as the LGBT community.
And what does it mean today for the center to be there and to be available to people? In the 90s, there were a lot of different issues that were being addressed at that point in time, including HIV/AIDS.
Yeah, yes, it's a good point. So it still means it's still relevant. As we know that we are still having issues happening with our community. Some rights are being rolled back in certain states around the country. It's been very troubling to know that some of our transgender community have been even murdered in my own hometown. But we are still moving forward with the charge, and our goal is to continue to bring the quality of life to our people. And we will continue to stand with our transgender sisters and brothers and throughout the community.
One of the most visible examples of the change that's taken place in the LGBT plus community may be you. You were the first Afro-Latino male to lead the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center. What does that say or signal about the inclusiveness of the community here in Milwaukee?
I think the one thing that it says is how we progressed as a community, and how we are constantly evolving and trying to find new avenues and new ways that we can really shine our community. Milwaukee being throughout the history known to being a very segregated city, I think this sits very well on our city, where it shows that a lot of our African American and Latino population are rising up in our city and taking on very important tasks and roles in the city to really put Milwaukee on the map, I believe, in a lot of ways. And on a national level, I'm actually one of few that are Black as an executive director for a major Milwaukee LGBT community center. So Milwaukee always has been in the forefront with some of these movements, but sometimes we get shined over by Chicago, or we get shined over by a New York, but really Milwaukee's a very progressive city. I love my hometown very much, and to sit in this role, I take it with a lot of honor, and I know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done, which is why I chose to step into this role as an executive director.
Does it also remind people who are not in Milwaukee's LGBTQ plus community that it is a very diverse community?
Yeah, it is. We have people from all walks of life. I often echo to a lot of folks that don't really understand about the LGBT community center. Well, we actually service everybody. We are the largest LGBT community center in Southeast Wisconsin. But again, we don't turn anyone away. Even when it comes to our allies, we are here to support them as well. But yeah, every walk of life you can think of comes through our door on a day-to-day basis.
And how does that inclusiveness really impact the work that you do, the services and programs that you offer?
Yeah, well, I think in the sense of knowing that they have a place that is a safe place, a place that when you go past those doors, there's no judgment, a place where you have resources and services that can combat and meet the needs of our community that are hurting when it comes to therapy, conversion therapy, our transgender who really can't find employment. We hire them, we bring them into our center. You become a part of our staff, a part of our team, because we don't care what you look like. We just know that you have the qualifications and you're able to do this job. The LGBTQIA plus community has been here. We've always been here. We work in your office buildings. We work as teachers or doctors or lawyers. It's so unfortunate still we haven't gotten to the place where we as a community still have the full rights like everyone else does in the workforce. And again, talking a lot with our transgender community.
How do you begin to share information with the community so people are aware of the fact that when it comes to employment and in other areas, there are rights that exist for people in the LGBTQ plus community that need to be followed? How do you guide people through that process?
Well, there's a number of things that do happen and take place. We do trainings. We're actually to think of a couple of different school institutions, the Milwaukee Public Schools, for one example. We do training with their teachers, their staff. We work with some schools, actually, believe it or not, out in Waukesha that have been accepting. We've actually worked with affirming churches around the area that have opened up their doors to say, hey, we want to learn more about you. We need to understand the rights of the LGBT community so we can support you. And again, our community is in the churches, our community is in the Milwaukee Public Schools, our community is all around Milwaukee. And I'm very proud to say that my staff and my team that are here all have those resources and can teach and educate. I couldn't want to think of another great partner of ours, the Milwaukee Bucks. They've come and done a tour of the center, and one of the themes that constantly is being asked is like, how can we be trained and learn more and become a better partner with the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center? So that really puts me in a place to say that, oh, we got more work to do, because there's still a lot of people who are still asking. There's still a lot of people who just don't know. But that's, again, the start is just asking a question, and we give you the training. We'll tell you, we'll show you that this is who we are, and these are our rights. Just like you have rights, we do have rights as well.
You mentioned just briefly, just a moment or two ago, about the fact that some rights are being rolled back, and we're seeing that happen in different states around the country, even some efforts on the national level. How do you begin to address those issues here locally? Because even if we're not seeing that level of effort to roll back rights in Wisconsin, we certainly are seeing it nationally, and it impacts people here.
So one of the things I think it's really important is just educating, right? Educating people, letting them understand that we're not here to pollute anybody with anything. We're here to just tell you who our rights are. But as you said, there's about 120 anti-LGBTQIA plus bills on a national level being pushed. Here in Wisconsin alone, there's 6 in recent months that have been from the state assembly that they're trying to push. A lot of them very much geared towards the transgender community. There's a tremendous attack on my brothers and sisters in the trans community that I haven't seen in my lifetime. Like being a gay male cis, it's really heartening for me to see this, and so I'm hoping that we can get to a space in a place where our state assembly can really understand, maybe just come into some training, or let us offer training to some of our elected officials, so you really understand that we're really no different than you. We're voters, we're taxpayers, we own our homes, we're renters, we buy food, we drive cars just like you drive cars. Some of our people in our community are disabled, just like some people are disabled in a heterosexual fuel environment. And we bleed just like you do.
Why do you think there is that particular focus on the trans community? We've seen it in other states, in particular, where this hasn't been proposed. Legislation has been passed that limits rights or does not fully recognize who people are and who they identify as.
Um, I try to be as neutral as possible, but the facts of the matter is that we've had people on a national level who have the face of the camera pushing hatred out there, pushing these lies and these misnotions, if you will. And then you have these extremists that have gone so far, in my opinion, right, that have caused so much uh, hatred, and they just keep putting that fuel on that fire. And so if you have our elected officials acting away, and you have our elected officials saying it's okay to say this, and you're just demonstrating, then on a national level, that's what we're going to get now. So now we're starting to see the real impact that this stuff has happened over the course of, I would say, 8 years even, when you're looking back at some of this. And now we're in a situation where on a national level, the parties have changed a little bit. So now to try to roll back all these stuff that happens, but that takes time, and it's going to take a lot of time to heal because a lot of our community feel unsafe. Even within our own city, Milwaukee right now, we feel unsafe. We don't feel we have we're scared to hold hands with our partners right now. We're scared to go to certain places like we used to go to, and we just don't feel safe there, And again, this goes all the way back up to our elected officials who, in my opinion, have been acting inappropriate to our community on all levels.
And we do know that the words that are said do have impact. Unfortunately, here within the past year of Milwaukee, we've had 3 trans people murdered and targeted because of their status. How do we as a community work to counter that? Not the LGBTQ plus community, but as a community as a whole. How do we work to counter some of those things that are out there?
The very good question. The thought behind it is really, again, going back to that education and understanding who we are as a people. Milwaukee has always been known as a very gay-friendly city, actually. One of the few cities around the nation that was very progressive in its time for LGBTQIA plus rights. And I think sometimes what happens, even with our allies and all of us together, we get comfortable, right? And then when you have this national movement of hatred being exposed out there, and this national movement to continue to say that we are not human and we don't have rights, it kind of ripple effects down. And then when you have a state assembly, like I just mentioned, trying to pass laws that are totally anti-gay against our community or LGBTQI plus community, it keeps fostering that narrative of always us going back to something we don't have to, but we choose to always take this step back. So now it's almost like, wait a minute, I feel like we're going back to the 1990s again with some of these things. And the other piece of it where we've learned throughout the years is we come together. And the reason why we come together is because all we have is each other, and when these 3 unfortunate murders happened to my transgender sisters, it really did impact the community. And I can be one to tell you, one of them came to the center and I knew them. So that really brought some tremendous hurt to me, to the point where I'm actually said we got more work to do, and we really got to make sure that we're protecting our transgender community. And one of the things that we've done here in Pivot, and even the board of directors of the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center, is making sure that we have programming in place that's going to support our transgender community, but more than that, that they have a place they can call home that is going to be safe for them. And they're not going to feel targeted. They're not going to feel that they're not a part of this world, because they are.
Kevin, thank you so much for the work that you do and that the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center does. We look forward to the next 25 years and the way you're going to continue to provide services and educate all of us about this very important part of our community.
So, and thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. We're here to stay, and we're loud and proud. And don't forget, Pride Month's next month, so we're excited for that.
Absolutely. For more information about the Milwaukee LGBT Community Center, visit its website at mkelgbt.org.